Is this you every time you play Conflict? So you load up the division and you see that there's a triple XP Conflict event going on. So the first thing you do is hop into Conflict and all you do is get destroyed over and over again. Well, I have news for you. It's not you, it's your build. In Conflict, there are a few different rules that apply and other rules that don't apply that change the way that your build interacts in the PvP environment. We're going to go over a few reasons why your build changes and how it changes so that you can learn to prevent it and make a build dedicated to just Conflict, because your standard PvE or PvP Dark Zone build simply won't work here. Let's get into it. My name's Prime. I'm a dedicated PvP player in the Division 2. I went from Shade 643 level to over 1000 using the Conflict event alone. I have a few hours of experience in this, and I even have a few builds that I can share with you to make you more successful in this Conflict game mode while you're grinding this triple XP event. In this video, we're going to go over why your build gets destroyed, exactly what you can do to change that, and how Conflict changes the entirety of build making. Secondly, we're going to go over why skill builds actually dominate Conflict and why using your weapons are not the go-to move. Third, if you can't beat it, then join it. We're going to give you a few builds today that you can use to actually enjoy yourself in PvP and stop hating your life. So when you enter Conflict, there is something called scaling, and it removes the shade watches. So any Keener's watch, shade points that you have in there, that's gone. It removes expertise and actually normalizes your gear stats. So it brings everybody to what they like to call an quote-unquote equal playing field. But in reality, that just means everything gets nerfed to the ground and only a few things outperform it. We're going to go over exactly what those few things are. But if you're wondering why, when you enter with a really good build in your eyes and it performs so well in Dark Zone and PvE and you bring it into Conflict, it does nothing. You don't do any damage and you die so fast. That's because you're getting scaled to the ground. You're getting essentially nerfed, what they like to call normalized, so that everybody has an equal playing chance. Okay, so in Conflict, skill builds dominate. This probably is not a secret by now. There's actually no skill in terms of mechanical improvement or aim or any of that or movement. It's only build. Conflict is primarily carried upon the build. The build does the heavy lifting. You, the human, is just the background. You are the additive to it. It's the build that does most of the damage and survivability for you. So speaking of those builds, core strength is going to be a huge meta build. Everywhere you go, there's going to be at least 14,000 core strength builds that we're going to see. Eventually and occasionally you'll run into a one-shot build, either MMR, sniper, or a pistol. And skill builds are everywhere, right? That guy with the seeker mine, or the hive that insta-deletes you, or even the artillery turret that keeps you from leaving your spawn and makes you want to quit and kill yourself. All that is what dominates Conflict. Nothing is gun-based, nothing is aim-based, nothing is skill-based. And let's go over why that is. So in Conflict, you'll notice that skills actually dominate, and that's because they don't get normalized the same way that weapon damage and armor do. When you roll weapon damage on a gear piece, 15% is the max. This is a numeric value. This value can be normalized or scaled downward. When you roll armor on a gear piece, 170,000 armor is the max. Again, numeric value, scalable downward. But when you roll skill tier, this is 1.0. There is no half a tier or percentage of a skill tier. This is not really scalable, so this stays exactly the same. This is also the same reason why you see a lot of skill builds dominating, outputting the most damage, doing the most one-shot things that are unimaginable in any other game mode, because Conflict does not necessarily scale them down the same way weapon damage and armor do. Again, these weapon damage and armor values are based off the max you can get on a regular gear piece. No expertise, no prototype. That being said, if you want to dominate or at least have a fighting chance in Conflict, you're going to have to build around the capacitor, around the artillery turret, and around the hive or the sticky bomb, EMP. Any of these have a great chance of doing damage, and you have a lot of survivability. There are other builds that have just pure assault rifle damage, and those do great damage output. You can drop people very quickly. I've seen dedicated builds to doing AR damage or any type of specific weapon damage, but the problem with those are, if it's not core strength, and more than likely it won't be if it's a dedicated weapon damage, you won't have any survivability. You're getting dropped instantly by literally everything else we went over in this video already. The capacitor, the turret, the hive, those will kill you so quickly because you're sacrificing all of your armor to go into whatever weapon damage that you prefer. this leads me into my third point. If you can't beat it, join it. So here's going to be a few capacitor, turret, hive builds that you can run. The skills really are interchangeable. It's going to be one core strength build, spec heavily into the skill tiers. Skill tier, again, doesn't get nerfed or normalized when you enter conflict. And when you have a core strength build specialized in tiers of skill, you can swap out the skills to whatever you want. Revive Hive, Stinger Hive, Repair Hive, Restore Hive, any sticky bomb will do great damage. Seeker Mines, even though those aren't too strong in PvP. My favorite is the artillery turret. I've been playing around with that. I've been being that guy. I've been being that absolute schmuck, and it's just a great time. So here's the build. Let's break it down. So here we have the build. You can see we have Ninja Bike, Capacitor, 3Ps, so core strength, unit alloys, Seska knee pads, which are actually turmoil, but that's not important. What we're going to go over today is some substitution. Let's start with the weapon. So we have great weapon, Capacitor, huge damage. If you don't have that, Agitator will work just fine. If you don't have that, Bighorn will work just fine. This is core strength now. Basically, any gun will work just fine. Eagle Bear will work just fine. If you don't even have those, like a PDR will work amazingly. Lexington will work just great, or any P416 variant. Boom. All right, so there's your AR. All right, that's all. That's primary weapon, AR. Secondary does not really matter. Thirdary, I have a quick step, position movement. Let's break down our core strength here now. So we have 40% of the other two cores, depending on whatever we roll. So if we have 15% skill damage, which is the max you can get on weapon damage, you would get 40% of a blue and 40% of a skill tier, which is also based off 15% skill efficiency. If you roll for skill tier, you get 40% of a red and 40% of a blue, which is 40% of 15 and 40% of 170,000 armor. Now we have the chest piece, which actually increases us to 75%. So we're actually getting 3/4 of any other thing. So if we roll, in this case, our chest piece is set to a skill tier, and then we're also getting 75% of a weapon damage roll, which is 75% of 15, and 75% of a blue core roll, which is 75% of 109,000. So that's why we can actually maintain high armor and huge PvP damage. Right here, huge PvP damage. Do note we have 56 crit chance, 100 plus crit damage. So what that means is basically all the gear that you're looking at here rolled to crit chance, crit damage, crit chance, crit chance, crit damage, crit chance, crit damage. So that's what we're going to focus on, crit chance and crit damage. You can actually run this any way you want. So it doesn't have to be unit alloys and Seska. The reason I chose unit alloys and Seska, I'll go over in just a second. So we have Ninja Bike Bag here, which will unlock the next piece. Typically, to unlock the entire core strength 4-piece, you need to run 4 pieces, or you can run Ninja Bike and it'll actually just bump that up for you. So once you get your core strength down, doesn't matter which pieces of these are core strength, as long as the chest piece is one of them, because of this chest piece talent here. Inner core increases it from 40 to 75. So instead of less than half, you get 3/4. Once you have your core strength pieces set, you can go and add whatever you want. I chose unit alloys because you have 5% rate of fire and 20% assault rifle damage. The 2-piece is actually unlocked because of the Ninja Bike. And on top of that, we have extra rate of fire from the named salvo holster. I went for turmoil here simply because I was too lazy to look at any other thing that I wanted, but it gives me extra crit chance, hazard protection, because people do use foam. This actually does help a lot. They use foam. And also, turmoil has like perfect god roll crit chance, weapon damage, crit damage on them. I got these from the Sakura event. So if you have turmoil, this is a great place to use them here. Other than that, your skills can be literally anything, as you can see. So this has 350,000. This is the fire sticky, 350k PvP damage, which is actually huge. We only have 4 skill tiers here. The rest is in weapon damage, and that gives our capacitor pretty big damage. Now, our restore high will actually have good healing too, 104. So this is about a 10th, a 5th, a 20th of our health bar per hit. We have so much armor, right? So this is actually a good amount of healing. If you don't like sticky bomb, what you can also run is the Stinger Hive, which in this case we have quite a bit of PvP damage. This is per charge, right? So you get 12 charges in it. Each charge will hit for this amount, so you're doing well over 1 million damage if if all 12 charges hit one guy. And then on top of that, you get the bleed. If you don't want to run that, you can also run the turret, which is artillery. Okay, you can also run the artillery turret. In this case, I re-rolled some of the weapon damage into skill tier, so we have 6 skill tiers here. But that's because you get the maximum turret damage. So this is if you want to be that guy who just keeps them in their spawn from the turret alone. You just set it and forget it and make sure they never leave. PvP damage is almost more than half of what most people will run, unless it's of course core strength. So the people who run those dedicated assault rifle damage builds I was talking about, they'll be only having about 1,000,000 armor. This is more than half of that. Hit them twice, they're done. Core strength guys, they'll have 2,000,000 armor. They're gonna need about 3-4 different hits from the mortar to survive. That's why core strength is so meta, guys. It's just survivability, check. Weapon damage, check. Skill tier, check. You really have all of it. The devs were like, what gear set can we add that removes a skill from the game? Oh, core strength, and then they added it. So that's what we're working with. We're just gonna use what's in the game, and we're gonna be happy with it. Other things I've seen. No, that's it. I haven't seen anything else other than getting one shot by a pistol. So this is the build, boys. This one's rolled all the way to skill tiers, but the one that I actually really want to encourage you guys to get is this one here, because you do get that extra weapon damage from these 2 red cores down here. This is great for capacitor. Again, Bighorn is getting huge damage out of this, 60k per bullet. That's not including the headshot damage. If you want to run a Lex, that's even better. Huge damage, 50k. Anything over 45 to 50k really is great. Capacitor actually benefits from this because of the capacitor talent, which is per skill tier thing. You get 7.5 weapon damage. So in this case, we have 4. So 4 times 7.5 is 30. So we get 30% actual weapon damage, which just gives us so much damage, guys. You gotta run this. If you don't have a capacitor, find a way to get it. I think it actually can drop from the blueprint, can drop from retaliation. If you don't want to do that, you should have the agitator. That's also the free. It's a free 51,000 damage base, but of course the agitator talent will add an extra 30% weapon damage for free. So 30% of 51, I think that's 8. So it brings you about the 60,000 weapon damage and 1,000,000 rate of fire with the weapon talent. You really can't mess this up. Great build. If you have first bloom is amazing for PvP damage as well, just because of the talent it has. So this is the build I recommend you guys go and run. Again, we're prioritizing crit chance on everything, crit damage. Don't even worry about the headshots. That's not important. But if you want to balance it out like I did, you absolutely can. And again, our armor is right around 2,000,000. No armor regen, but that's okay because we have the healing hive, which will give us 104 healing PvP. This is the ally healing. This is our own healing. So there you go, boys. Now you have something to go into the conflict game mode with and not get absolutely clapped, and actually have fun and enjoy yourself. So my name has been Prime. I hope you learned something new and enjoyed the video. This has been really fun for me to make, and I'll see you on the next one.